Welcome to Looking Within, a podcast for the spiritual explorer in each of us. I'm Julie. I love to explore the inner life using contemplative practices, and I love to help others to do the same. In our time together, I hope you gain a sense of hope, meaning, joy, and love. As a Christian spiritual explorer, I hope to offer some thoughts to help you see God's presence and activity in ever-expanding ways. As you listen, ponder, and experience the divine, feel free to use the spiritual perspective you are most comfortable with in our practice today. Now, let's begin. I've mentioned the past few weeks that I'm guiding and traveling with a group who's engaging in a 40-day journey with the welcoming prayer written by the late Mary Brzezowski of Contemplative Outreach. It's a specialty of this prayer practice to be used right in the midst of daily life. As one practices the 3 steps of this prayer, it enables you to grow in your ability to say a full-bodied yes to any experience in the present moment, as you consent to God's presence and action in all of life. I find this to be so difficult to do at times. I am very prone to resisting the present moment. Quite often, I hear that voice in my head that is frequently and judgmentally critiquing and wanting to make adjustments to whatever I might be experiencing. And I'm not always good at seeing God's presence and action in things, especially those things that I prefer wouldn't be happening, either to me or to someone else. I am, unfortunately, an expert at resistance. That makes me think of a line from the Star Trek series, The Next Generation, spoken by an alien cybernetic antagonist called the Borg. Whenever they were pursuing another species to overtake and assimilate, the well-known line of "Resistance is futile" would be spoken. Resistance. I will never have to face down the Borg, but I seem to constantly face down my own moments of inner resistance to the present moment. The welcoming prayer has been instructive for me in pinpointing the areas of life that expose my tendency to resist. According to Father Thomas Keating and others, there are 3 areas or programs for happiness around which our false or small ego selves function. These 3 have to do with security and survival, affection and esteem, and power and control. When I don't get my way, or perceive that my needs in these 3 areas aren't being met in the exact way that I want them to, I resist, complain, am judgmental, and just generally am not in some way happy with that particular moment or situation. Sometimes I'm quite satisfied with my life and the present moment, but just as often, and probably on almost a daily basis, I'm seeking to make my own adjustments to life, wanting to change either my own circumstances or the circumstances of those close to me or of the world in general. The welcoming prayer practice helps me to remember that this feeling of resistance is natural and normal, and that it can be greeted with compassion and welcomed as a part of our being human. I'm grateful for this reminder of my humanity, and grateful for a prayer practice that can address this tendency in transformative ways. At the core of Mary Brzezowski's prayer is a welcoming and letting go of these false self-programs for happiness. There is a surrendering to God of all of the ways we're prone to devise to help us feel secure, loved, and in control of life. Over time, and with God's grace-filled help, we can finally arrive at the place of realizing that we are secure and loved in God, and that we can relinquish any control over life that we thought we had or needed to have to God, our ground of being. As Brzezowski wrote, all thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions that come to us in the present moment are for our healing in some way. everything belongs, as Richard Rohr has written. Everything in this moment can be welcomed. There is a certain freedom, peace, and even inner joy that comes over us as we learn to surrender the moment to God, not trying to change any situation, condition, person, or ourselves. Over time, with practice, and by God's grace, we may truly arrive at the point of knowing that resistance is futile. And instead of feeling like we've had to become some kind of doormat to life and the universe in order to say that, we can realize it's actually the very best posture we can take, even in the most challenging of times. Let's think about that during our quiet moments together. In this quiet space and time, I'd invite you to gently close your eyes. I'll sound the Tibetan singing bowl, which will call you to look within. As you're listening to the bowl's reverberations, take 3 deep breaths. Then let your breathing return to normal whenever you'd like. Hear the sound of the bowl now. Let it center you. Let it remind you that God is here with you. Each day seems to give us at least one thing that we want to resist, to change, or to eliminate from our journey. Today, in this moment, what is that situation or circumstance for you? What are you resisting? Can you explore the possibility of releasing it, of letting it go, of surrendering it to God, to letting God's presence and action be the driver of this moment instead of you? And can you catch a glimpse of the inner peace that could come if you hand over the responsibility for this moment to God? I'll be back with you in about 3 minutes. I'd invite you now to take a few deep breaths in and out, in and out. Let these breaths fill you with strength and energy. Hear me sound the Tibetan singing bowl, and as the sound of the bowl reverberates and slowly dies away, you can gently open your eyes, remaining still for a moment longer. Resistance is futile. That's certainly a notable line from a TV series, but it's actually a helpful reminder for us. Our resistance to life creates a constriction in us, both physically and spiritually. We become locked up and closed off to the present moment, the moment in which God resides. But our welcoming, our letting go and letting God, creates a healing sense of peace, freedom, and an expansiveness which allows new possibilities to arise on our journey. Easier said than done, I know. But God's loving presence and action are always here to help us as we learn to let go and to let God. Thank you for making time for your inner self today. Whatever you've discovered and experienced, carry that with you in the coming days. You can find more episodes at our website, gloria-day, that's DEI.com/lookingwithinpodcast, or subscribe through your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time.